Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Indy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another
Oladipo!
one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Worked out by Burke. Bounces into Cody. Puts it up. Scores!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Happy Friday, TGIF. Welcome aboard. Dustin Schutte's with me. It's going to be a fun day, man. We have got another loaded show. Alec Lasley is going to be here because there's a ton of basketball to talk about. We're going to be joined by Josh Hoover, Texas quarterback that has recently committed to Indiana. The Pacers hired a new coach. Dustin's jacked. Let's see. There's just all kinds of things going on. The NBA playoffs, of course, still happening. A no-hitter, a combined no-hitter in baseball. What else am I missing? There's just tons and tons of news going on, man.
Just when you think
manna from heaven.
That's right. When you think it's going to slow down, man. I think it was just a few hours after we concluded the show yesterday that the Pacers made that, it was reported that Rick Carlisle was going to be the next head coach. So I can't let that opportunity pass. Very excited about that. Had to wear another Pacers shirt for a second consecutive day. I mean, we talked about you have to get that hire right, and in my opinion, they did.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran. Their top three choices, they almost couldn't go wrong. I was a little surprised. I thought maybe Terry Stotts.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, just because he played high school basketball in Bloomington, there wasn't really a big thing. But he's been a 9-year head coach, pretty successful. So I thought maybe that direction. Rick Carlisle been here previously. So maybe that was the selling point for the Simons, the familiarity, growth. Hey, it's a long time now. He's grown. And so that familiarity probably went a long, long way with the Simons. I'm going to guess that in helping make that decision.
I would guess so. And I wonder, too, if there's a little bit of feeling like a little bit of unfinished business, because Rick Carlisle was on those staffs with Larry Bird when the Pacers got to the NBA Finals and the year before when, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Bulls. He had the best team in the NBA a couple of years when he was in the early 2000s, but they couldn't get over the hump with Detroit and, the Malice in the Palace and all that stuff. But the thing that's exciting to me is when you look back at the Pacers, they've had a lot of, I'll call it bad luck in terms of their head coaches. Larry Brown was head coach, didn't win an NBA title. He goes to the Detroit Pistons, wins an NBA title. Rick Carlisle didn't win an NBA title, goes to Dallas, wins an NBA title. Frank Vogel couldn't win the NBA championship, goes to LA, wins an NBA title with the Lakers. This is the first time that I remember, maybe ever in the history of the organization, where a head coach is coming in who has won an NBA title. So I'm really excited to have that experience, his familiarity. He's dealt with, you look back to when Dallas won that NBA title, he had Dirk Nowitzki, and they had some other good players on that roster. But for the most part, that was Dirk Nowitzki, and they had to overcome LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and the dream team, or whatever you want to call them. So I was fired up about it. I'm still fired up about it. The cocktails tasted just a little bit better last night before I went to bed, knowing he's the head coach now.
The truth is with us. Robert Carter down in Evansville says good morning. Keep up the good work. For IU, send food and money. I love that. Alan Hughes joining us, says good morning from Lake Cumberland Campgrounds. Man, he's got a good start to the weekend going. Tony Stuckey, Schutte still leading Tour de France. Good to see.
That's right.
Second consecutive stage win, man. Congratulations. Thank you, Tony, for reminding me. That's two stage wins for you, man. Must be going well. Man, it's just so much to talk about. Alec Lasley will be on. I didn't even mention him, did I? To try to catch. I'm not even going to say catch up on basketball, because there is no catching up, because it keeps moving. And when we stop to talk about it, Well, it kept moving, and there's stuff right behind me now. It seems like it is Indiana basketball from this point forth is not going to be, I don't think, anything that fans are used to before in any way other than winning. And I don't want to try to, I'm not some fan bandwagon thing, and I don't want, and I try to steer clear of that, but I just see what they're doing, how they're doing it, and I'm like, boy, it is not going to take long. And I don't, fans get all excited. IU's going to challenge for the Big Ten title this year. And I don't get into all that. I want to see them, but man, they are really putting together a roster, or have put together a roster and a staff that I don't know how they're not going to be competitive at the top. And I don't mean number one. I just mean that in that top 3 spots. I hate to throw that out there now without having had a practice or anything, but it's just how they're going about it. It is very businesslike, and I think it was Scott Dolson who said he was going to run it like a business, and they are successfully. And I'm saying that without him having won a game, but you can see things. It doesn't matter if it's a business, an organization. It doesn't matter. You can see if things are going in the right direction. You can see, wow, there's a lot of positivity there. Wow, there's a lot of trending. That's what I see for Indiana basketball. And of course, it's other things, football and whatnot, but football was already there. I'm looking forward to talking to Alec because of all these different players. And another, Indiana's fan base, a good portion of it is I don't want to say old, but veteran fans. They've been around for a long time, all the way back to the Bob Knight era. To Bob Knight era. And Indiana basketball, the only thing that I think is going to be similar to the Bob Knight era going forward is winning. That's it. Nothing. The rosters will never again be like they were. You're not going to see, I don't think you're going to see very many 3-4 year guys. Though if you are, they're going to be role players. There's going to be just an influx, a constant influx of talent, where you're going to have a couple of guys that are here for 1 year, a couple of guys that are here for 2 years. Then you're going to have a couple of guys that hit the transfer portal. So you're going to have more constant flux than you have before. But it's not where in the past that would be constantly dangerous. Constantly, that is the part I don't see. I see that being replaced easily every time. Mike Woodson is getting Indiana back. Right now, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, Kentuckys, they're still the top destinations for the top kids. Kansas, Indiana was there. I think they're going to be there very quickly again. And I'm talking about the elite talent, where Justin Taylor's committing on tomorrow, I think. And the thought that he's a big Syracuse lean. A kid that just committed to North Carolina. Daggone, I'm drawing a blank. But those kids will be coming to Indiana as well. And that's where Mike Woodson is going, and that's where he will be soon. I truly believe that. There's no program, no college basketball program in, well, you can say the world, but the United States that has the coaching experience and structure that Indiana basketball currently has. You've got Mike Woodson, Thad Matta, and again, who was the guy that Mike Woodson brought in that has 50 years of basketball experience?
Yeah.
Just those three guys alone. Okay. That is Big Ten titles, Final Four appearances, NBA. It covers the gamut. There is nothing a player. Then you've got the assistants that are great. I think Yaimir Rosemont is probably the best recruiter right now. Dane Fife, of course. But you've got everything. I'm now talking about a staff that 3 months ago I couldn't stand. I couldn't stomach. Now they have a staff that's like someone came down and Scott Dolson took a magic wand and went poof and turned it into a championship caliber everything. Now they haven't won a game yet. I get that. But I always talk about what I see, and my thought, and man, I don't know how it doesn't go that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And to the point of where you think they're going to be competitive at the top of the Big Ten, I remember towards the end of the season, and again, we talked about this yesterday at the end of the season, you and Todd Leary got to a point where Indiana was 12-9, 6 games left, a chance to make a run for the NCAA tournament. And you both said multiple, there's not a game on this schedule that they're going to win. There isn't a game they're not going to win any of these last 6, and they lost their last 6 if I remember correctly. I don't know that they're going to be like we said. We don't know that they're going to be at the top of the Big Ten in terms of 1, 2, or 3. But can they go up against Michigan State? Can they go up against Purdue, Michigan, Illinois? They're going to be so much more competitive consistently, in my opinion, because again, that roster was it. People can say it's not as talented as you'd like, but I still think if you give that to 8 or 9 head coaches in the Big Ten, they would have been a top 4 team in the conference. So, I think that they'll be more competitive. I'm interested to see what this does in the terms of recruiting. You think that you're going to see more guys head off to the NBA early? I mean, I think you'll see more of it, but I don't know if you're going to have rosters full of that. I think you're still going to have plenty of 3- and 4-year players at Indiana. That's what Mike Woodson was used to. That's kind of the culture of Indiana, is to have those guys that, you need a guy who's going to dive on the floor and, score 6 points,
question.
get 8 rebounds, and just willing to do whatever it takes to wear that Indiana uniform. So I think you'll see more of those guys. I agree with you on that. I just don't think you're not going to see a Kentucky roster where you see 5 guys selected in the first round of the NBA draft. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, and we'll talk about this when we come back. Alec Lasley will join us. But yesterday, Caleb Glenn visited. Tim says that it was a phenomenal visit. That his coach said it was the best visit he has had with one of his players.
Wow.
That coming from a coach, a Louisville, Kentucky head coach. I mean, I could just stop right there. And seeing this and knowing what the things that's going on in Bloomington that I just talked about with the staff, knowing what's going on in Louisville, if they pull a kid out of Louisville, Kentucky, and I know he's not, the greatest recruit ever. That's not the point. You pull a kid out of Louisville, Kentucky, you just beat Louisville and Kentucky.
Yep.
Period. I don't care if they want to act like it or not. And not only did you beat them in their front yard. You did. If this comes to fruition, this is this Corn Ferry fight. Mike Woodson's got he'll have both Louisville and Kentucky down until they say uncle. We got to take a break. We'll back to Alec Lasley after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking... Man, oh man. Hello, Alec Lasley.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. Everybody's raving about the visit of Yeah, Caleb Glenn.
Yeah, I touched base with his coach before the visit, and then just a little bit after. But yeah, it went really well. I think that was definitely a big turning point. Obviously, he's only 20, class of 23, so there's still a lot of time. But that was a big visit because a lot of people had him kind of pinned to Louisville at this point.
Well, just before you joined us, what I was just talking about was if the culture is going to be so different, the players that they're bringing in. But if you can go to Louisville, Kentucky, and you take a kid out of Louisville, that tells me that does more than getting Justin Taylor. That does more than getting the kid that just signed at North Carolina for what it means, not for the talent. Because, first of all, that's never happened. I don't think Indiana has ever – well, they've rarely even tried. They don't recruit Kentucky. But they have damn sure never beat Louisville and Kentucky for a kid from Louisville. Never.
Yeah.
They got Remy Abel, but I don't think he was a top.
They didn't. They didn't beat them. They didn't beat Kentucky out. They didn't beat Louisville out for them.
But that just shows you how long ago it's been since they've gotten anyone from roughly that area. They just don't go. Probably the most recent, I guess you could say, would be Romeo, just due to his proximity down there. But still, I mean, they didn't
win. They didn't win that either.
Well, yeah, it depends what you say by when.
Gift. That was a gift. He would have never seen the Bloomington campus.
It didn't work out too well.
But and Louisville's got problems. They keep ignoring it. Louisville's got problems, man. This NCAA stuff's not going away. They haven't been punished. They've got 2 punishments coming yet. I don't think they still haven't been punished for the last infraction, which then kicks in another of committing a violation while on probation. So they've got double thing. I don't see how anybody is.
Bring us back in.
Wings, tender steaks, and seafood. Sam's Ale House in Carmel and on 86th Street in Indy have a long list of craft beers and all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome in. It is Friday, man, and we got so much to talk about. We're going to need another hour, seems like. Alec Lasley joining us from thehoosier.com. Alec, how's it going, brother?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Trying to keep up, man. Need a scorecard. Need scorecards now with football, basketball. So much talent coming in, getting on campus. And both sports this week had a visit that was impactful, very, very impactful. We'll talk about the football one later with Dustin. Of course, that's Josh Hoover. He's going to join us, Texas quarterback, who I'm just watching his highlights. I'm like, wow, this dude is phenomenal. But then yesterday's visit, everybody's hitting up on the comments about Caleb Glenn's visit from Louisville. And first of all, I can count on one hand how many times I remember Indiana recruiting a kid from Kentucky. They don't produce a ton of talent, and if they do, you got Louisville and Kentucky there. So that just doesn't happen. Now you got a kid that is from Louisville and apparently had a hell of a visit, but Indiana is a different place now. And from all of that I've read, it went extraordinarily well.
Yeah, I mean, that he's obviously class of 23, so still a long time to go in his recruitment. But if there was any sort of visit or any sort of day-long trip to any campus that would have helped any school in this scenario, it was Indiana yesterday. Talking to his coach who also made the visit with him prior to the visit. Indiana was definitely a school that they were at least interested in. A lot of people had him kind of in towards Louisville already at this early stage, but that visit yesterday definitely kind of at least opened up the door even more for Indiana to not only continue to be involved in that recruitment, but then obviously assuming there's no early decision, which it doesn't sound like there will be anytime soon, to get him on campus a year from now for an official visit, which will just obviously continue to build that relationship. But yeah, yesterday went great, about as good as you can do for an unofficial visit. And the consistent theme that we're seeing here is everyone who's getting on campus is blown away, not only by the campus, but by what Mike Woodson and that staff is really able to communicate with them. Not only the stories, but just the style of play, the really what they're trying to build Indiana as. And that's what everyone's seeing at this moment. When they leave campus, everyone is pretty much blown away by what Indiana has to offer at this current moment.
Well, I was talking to some folks yesterday. Mike Woodson personally takes recruits around campus. That didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, he's
for 4 years.
Yeah.
That did not happen for 4 years in Bloomington. I can tell you that right now, amongst a lot of other things. But he has a 32-point tour, a 32-stop tour that he takes them on to show them everything personally. I don't know that. How many? And I know he's too old to recruit and all that, and it's going to be hard for him to recruit these kids because of his age and all that. That's tongue in cheek. Yeah, 32-point that he's out walking these kids around campus. How many college coaches are out there doing that? I mean, I don't know that I've ever even heard of that. Which that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I can't imagine that happens in a lot of places. I don't think that Mike Krzyzewski was walking kids around campus. Just a guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest difference between the two staffs already. Mike Woodson is, and maybe
this one's involved with their players.
Yeah, yep. This one could be a little bit different though, right off the bat, just because obviously you come in fresh. This is your first recruiting class that you need, and obviously you want to set the groundworks for the future classes as well. But Mike Woodson seems like a guy already that we've seen over the first about 3 weeks here with visits that they've had probably about 3 guys on campus every single week that is going to be involved and going to be, if not the lead recruiter in a lot of these, right there with one of the assistants who's always going to be talking to these top players. And that's the biggest difference between Archie Miller and Mike Woodson, not only because Mike Woodson is putting in the effort from the very beginning, and you're seeing that with these visits and what these prospects are saying after they get off of campus, but then also what he's doing to follow that up. And he's really making a lot of these kids a priority right now. Obviously, we'll have to see, when it starts to fall and when these recruits start to make their announcements and see who Indiana obviously does get coming up here in the 2022 class and then obviously the 23 class. But you can't be off to a better start than what Mike Woodson's doing. From the background, and then also what he's actually doing to face on campus.
We can debate what Archie Miller's biggest problem was all day, I can tell you that. But and talking more about Caleb, the kid from Louisville. Louisville has problems. The fans, they can ignore that. They've got NCAA problems coming, and theirs may be the worst of all. Because I don't think they've still been punished for their last infraction yet. So don't know when that's going to come. So that hasn't stopped people from going there yet. But also but now they don't have a Rick Pitino there that's an NBA producer type coach. Then you look at Calipari. He didn't produce Jack. All those kids that came in were going to the NBA. The only reason they stopped at Kentucky is because there's a rule that requires them to play a year in college, to sit out. They can't have to be 19. He didn't produce anything. This staff, Mike Woods, developing and developing these kids, and they have plans on how to develop them. And to me, that is a gigantic difference between Kentucky and what Indiana is about to be.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's going to take some time before we truly see, what players get developed under Mike Woodson. But you can already see just in his recruiting pitches exactly what he's trying to do with these guys, and that's why they're all buying into it already. You see it with Trace Jackson Davis, who wants to come back because he knows what Mike Woodson told him is going to help him if he wants an NBA career. And that's not to just make it in the NBA. That's to have a long career and to play, 6, 9, 10 plus years, which is what a lot of these one and done players don't end up doing. I don't want to say this because this is not the right way to say it, but it's a lot easier to make it in the NBA than it is to stay in the NBA. So a lot of these kids want to be fully developed now because they see how easy it is after 1 or 2 seasons, once their rookie contract is up or once their 1 year guarantee is up, for them to be back in the G League or overseas. Obviously, you can still make a great living doing that. That's not to knock on any of those guys, but I think you're going to start to see a big shift in what these high school players or even transfers are going to be looking for, and that's going to be a true path to stay in the league for a long time. And that's what you get with Mike Woodson, because he's been there before and he knows what it takes to stay in the league for a while, and also knows what it takes to coach in that league and kind of what the teams are looking for, especially now with kind of the skill positions and everything that the NBA is going towards.
Tim mentions that Glenn's coach said that every IU staff member could be a college head coach somewhere right now, is what he meant to say. That's a nice statement. That says a lot. I mean,
just talking to him right when Glenn got the Indiana offer about 2 weeks ago, he was just blown away by just the entire coaching staff that IU had put together, the persistence that they have, but also
we haven't mentioned Thad Matta. We haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so deep.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. I know we have a comment over here, Brian Walsh as well. He cannot be talked about enough. He has been one of the most underrated parts of a college program over the past 5-6 years. And you didn't see that with the previous staff, but the relationships that he had built with a lot of these high school coaches and recruits in the 2022 and 23 class, talking to coaches now, talking to whether they're high school or AAU coaches, whether they're family members of these recruits, the one name that they always talk about is Ben Walsh. And that's one of the biggest assets that Indiana can have right now, keeping him on staff along with someone like a Kenya Hunter. But yeah, Brian Walsh is one of the really good young minds in college basketball, so it would not shock me to see him move up to a full-time bench assistant role in the next few years.
The best thing that happened to him was Mike Woodson, because now he can learn and is learning, not from just Mike Woodson, but Thad Matta and all these other guys, Dane Fife and all these other guys that he didn't have around him before, and he wasn't pushed. And that's the thing. Not only are these players being pushed, Mike Woodson is pushing these coaches. But the players, Tom Allen always says iron sharpens iron. That is how this basketball program is going to be run. You will be recruited over. You have to be a competitor. You have to earn your minutes. There will not be the same starting lineup game after game next year. I mean, they might settle into one to start, but at halftime, nope. Who knows? That'll always be different. And Dustin, I don't want to leave you out of here. Jump in, man, anytime. He's all pacered up, so he's saving for that. But it's just I don't want to get all jacked up, but it's almost hard to not. You can't not recognize the massive change that has happened in a short period of time, and how well it's been implemented, and that it is being followed through on. It's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you just look at it from all not only official visits that have been happening this month, and the bigger thing is all the unofficial visits from a lot of the top 50, 60 class of 23 kids without offers. And that's one of the biggest things. A lot of these kids are going to campus early because they're now very intrigued by what Mike Woodson has to offer, but what Indiana is. Indiana, we've talked about this before. Indiana is always going to have that draw for kids in the Midwest, but it was that draw nationally that was really going downhill over the past 5 seasons. Now you have that fresh energy, you have that fresh buzz. Now you're attracting a lot of these class of 2022 out-of-state guys from all over the country to come for official visits, grouping that in with a lot of the top prospects around the country from the class of 23. And that's been the biggest difference is in previous seasons, you didn't see a lot of kids without an offer want to come visit Indiana on their own dime. You didn't get that. Now you're getting that. They had a stretch of Jalen Hooks, Xavier Booker, Caleb Glenn, all top 70 guys in the class of 23, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. Those guys are some of the top in the Midwest and not only the top in the country. And to get them on campus without, obviously Caleb Glenn had the offer. The other two didn't have an offer before they visited. And that just shows you what pull Mike Woodson is having, not only across the country, but especially kind of in the Midwest and building that Indiana program back up to what it should be.
And my guess too is a big reason why so many kids are. You do have, it's still Indiana. You still have the allure of it being Indiana. You've got Mike Woodson and a great staff, NBA experience. He's a guy who played at Indiana. But my guess is that switch in styles now. Archie Miller, we were trying to figure out the offense was. You're probably going to see a more up-tempo NBA style on both ends of the floor. And I have to think that, you talked about guys wanting to maintain, not just get to the NBA, but maintain a healthy, 7, 8, 10-year career in that league. So I have to think that the style is going to make a big difference to these recruits as well.
And I know, Alec, you got to do another hit. We're probably we'll have to get you back on in another segment because we haven't even talked about all the other things that are going on with basketball. So we'll work that out with John because I think your other hit comes up, doesn't it?
About 9:40ish. Yep.
Okay, so the biggest name that I think that's not being mentioned is Scott Dolson. Scott Dolson had the vision, and I'm sure he had help, but he put this structure together, and it is working exactly as you would have dreamed of. It's like a corporation that is working to perfection. It's a machine that is gears that are just locking in every way, and to come in and be able to make a change and have it work, a gigantic change, and have it work like that, it's phenomenal. And he also had to deal with upping Tom Allen while he was dealing with that to make sure he don't get away. It's you can't understate what Scott Dolson's importance on this has been, because we're talking about a basketball program that had basically been just up and down for 25 years. And again, I know they haven't won a game yet. That is not a concern. That I just don't see that as a concern at all. But to see the change of where it's been and where it is on a rocket ship towards, Scott Dolson gets that credit. Absolutely. We'll get you back on so we can – there's so much more to talk about. We'll have John set that up and do that, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Thanks for joining us, Alec Lasley. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking for –
we don't have a 940, but you got to go Town Tracy, don't you?
Yeah, it's usually 10 minutes, so I could hop on at 9:50, 9:52.
Now you might want, if you're, I don't know what else you have going on, but what about, do you want to run to the Josh Hoover stuff at 10 though?
How about 10:30ish
or 10:40?
10:40.
I should be able to do that.
Where are you now?
In New York for cousin's graduation.
try to find a place where people aren't talking. It got so loud we couldn't hear you. You had to mute your mic. All right,
yeah,
brother.
that's fine. All right.
Or you
I'll shoot you a text when I'm done and we can figure out a time.
Or John, if you want to try to push Cooper to 1040 or 1020.
Okay, well, what would you rather do, Alec? Would you rather do 10 o'clock?
10 would probably work a little bit better for me.
I'll message Josh Hoover and
it's
see if he can do 10:20. I'll see if he can do 10:20. And if he can't, I'll let you know too, Alec.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, cool.
Wow, man. There's so much freaking basketball to talk about. We talked about one thing. There's just so much. This is going to need this show needs to be 3 hours today.
Well,
I'm not kidding.
I got to get to the driving range.
Boy, I got to get my boy. Where's I got to get this up for when we come back. There you go. Just for you, brother. My old buddy Pete.
He didn't have driving. Only had all irons in the bag. Oh man, that sounds well. Okay, not the 2 iron, but that sounds like me. My driver's I pull out the 4 iron on the tee.
What? Man, I am never hitting a 4 iron. I will never hit a 4 iron. I don't even have a 4 iron in my bag. That's been replaced with a hybrid.
Oh, a cheater club.
Hey, it's made and legally registered.
You got all these cheating clubs in your bag. No wonder you won men's league.
No. Well, I got driving problems.
Well, I can't. I cannot get it even off the ground.
Hey, Josh is good for 10:20. How long do you want him? He asked me how long he wants to go. Or
how long can he? Go. He can stay as long as he wants up until 11 o'clock when the show ends. Okay, we don't have anybody else, right?
Nope. All right, here we go.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. Little thunderstorms rumbling out there, it sounds like right now. We were talking about, well, hopefully we weren't talking about my golf game today, but my old buddy Pete, we went to college together. Said he played with Carlisle in 96, Riverside Golf. Golly, that's nice. He didn't have a driving problem. He only had irons in his bag, teed off with a 2 iron, about 275. Damn. I hate people like that. I played with, just he happened to be playing out here, a guy that's actually in PT for IU Athletics, Ryan, and we were on a hole. It was 371, and I watched him hit that drive, and I looked up, and I just watched it, and I'm like, is that thing coming down? It went like 340.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Former baseball player at Indiana, but well, not many of us can.
Well, Bryson DeChambeau can, so.
The only way I can hit it 340 is if when I sliced it just so it caught the road to the right of the fairway, and it.
I was little cart path help there might.
Yeah, no, cart path is not going to be enough help for me because that has to stay straight on a cart path to get more bounces. I need a road, baby. But yeah. But fun times. But Pete's been around. He lives up in Minnesota, Pete. Well, I never have understood why anybody would live in Minnesota. You're not from there. You're from Indiana. Why would you live in Minnesota? It's too cold.
Big fisherman.
Let's see. I don't miss anything else. Oh, here's one I meant from earlier. We're talking about Josh Hoover. His father, Alex, played for Colorado State, had an NFL career as a linebacker. Good genes, man. But we're going to talk to him in the next hour. But if you haven't gone to Indiana Rivals and watched his highlight video, you need to. Like I talked about it yesterday, Anybody can always, usually when you see the basketball highlights, they put up all the dunks and all that stuff. This was 11 minutes of like 6-second clips.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a ton of plays. And I just can't overstate the accuracy, the poise, the tape was watching. He was a junior in high school. He looked college ready. Have you seen him?
I've seen a little bit of him now. Yeah,
he looks college ready to me.
Yeah. It's always hard to tell. You don't know what the competition's like. So it's always tough to tell from those highlight tapes. But I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just it's such a completely different game. But the thing that you do talk about, and we've talked about this a couple times on this show this week, is that Texas is so talent rich. It's such a huge football state that he's probably playing up against several Division I football players every week. If you
throw for 3,630 or 3,500 yards and 36 touchdowns in Texas, there is no way you haven't played enough along the way against talent. I mean, it's
right.
But the thing that caught me though, and I agree with you. If you're not playing against somebody, can alter the things, but not in this. This was he didn't hold the football long. He had a quick release. He is so accurate. He's putting the balls where only the receiver could get it. It poise. All these things. I'm like, wow, you could see. It's pretty good. We'll see how it works out. But looking forward to that. Alec is going to join us again at 10, I believe. John, the producer, is that right?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm still messaging Josh.
Working.
Now.
I know you're working. Good for so we're going to bring him back because we got too much basketball to talk about today. St. John's picked up the game for Indiana in the Gavitt games. We mentioned that yesterday. Someone asked how good St. John's was going to be. I don't know, but they can't be enough where I think it will be a problem. Not for Indiana. But it'll be interesting. I
don't remember the last time St. John's was any good. Do you?
Chris Mullen. And not when he was coaching either. Or is he still their coach? Is he still their coach?
That's a great question. I actually don't know. I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Talking about who's Brian Walsh's team and recruiting coordinator. Yeah, he's just doing a bang up job. But see, that's great too, because some guys don't do all this stuff. And I'm not even going to name one that comes right to mind. Some guys don't do this grunt work that recruiting, film work. The guys that got to go into and do the film work and do all this grunt work. If you don't do that, you miss a lot. You miss a lot of learning. You have to start at the bottom. How many people have you heard about that are CEOs that coming in? Well, this guy started in the mailroom. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. And those guys are phenomenal because they know everything. They know every level. Some people start at a different level because they're gifted in various ways. So they skip many steps, and it shows. Want to hit some of these. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Rick Carlisle won NBA championship with the Mavericks. Yeah, you know that. Pete says someday I'll have to share his Reggie Miller story when he Pete interned with the Pacers. So I'm assuming, is it not for public air because you can send it to us down? Well, or I'll have you come on, man. Let's have you
keep my phone number, and then he's gonna call me and tell. I don't even know who Pete is, but he's gonna call me and tell me that story after this show.
I remember Pete interned for them. Let's see. Hoosier for Life says that Indiana needs a superstar and good pieces around him first. I don't know that I agree with that. You need good pieces. I think you need good pieces first, or good pieces first. And I think they've got a ton of them. But I think they've got guys that are going to be superstar or have the ability to be superstars. Tamar Bates These guys definitely have the ability to become that. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, though, with the kids that go to North Carolina or going to Duke, going there. That is also going to change. And
I'm going to give you an example. I don't think you necessarily have to. It's good to have a superstar. It's not required.
Did Baylor have a superstar?
That's what I was just going to say. I don't know. Baylor had some really good players.
They have a lot of great pieces.
But look at the Big Ten. Look at what Michigan had last year. I mean, Hunter Dickinson was probably the quote unquote superstar. But it wasn't like he was averaging 25 points and 18 rebounds per game. They had great chemistry. They probably would have been to the Final Four if Isaiah Livers hadn't gotten hurt. I mean, they just had so many pieces. They had guys who filled every single role. They had a deep bench. They had some NBA talent on that roster. There's no doubt about it. But you don't necessarily have to have that.
Who are you talking about?
Ayo Dosunmu.
Oh, and Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a team that could have made it. They just ran into, Michigan could have made it.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. If Isaiah Livers hadn't gotten hurt, they would have been in the Final Four.
Let me tell you the team that could have and possibly should have made it, who lost their superstar at the start of the season, UCLA. They lost a lottery pick at either at the start or at the beginning of the season. Didn't have him all year. So there's another, and that's in Mick Cronin's second season out there.
Right.
So it doesn't hurt to have a superstar. I'm not going to disagree with that.
That's the point. You want to have a superstar. That's great to have an Ayo Dosunmu, a Luka Garza, someone like that. But you don't have to have it. If you're
good, you got 4 or 5 guys that are just below that level. You're almost better because there's a lot of equality there.
Yeah, right. The guys know how to play together. Gonzaga they had some really, really, really good players, but they also played well and functioned well as a team. And that's what you see in the Final Four. Very rarely do you see a team. Well, I shouldn't say very rarely, but it's not like it's a bunch of teams with 4 or 5 NBA guys always making the Final Four. You get some of that experience, guys who have played for 3 or 4 years. Those teams make the Final Four too.
Absolutely. What else? We got to talk about some other stuff for a minute because we've got tons of more IU basketball and football coming after the top of the hour. Let's see. Baseball, we talked about the no-hitter. Oh, the NBA. The Clippers.
Clippers got to win. Yep.
I did not see that. Not like 106-92. See, the Western Conference games have not been as fun to watch. Did you hear that?
The Western Conference, did you watch?
No, a commercial just came up in my ear, so I said, if you could hear me. The Western Conference games have not seemed as competitive as the Eastern Conference games.
The first 2 were more competitive of the Suns and Clippers. Last night, it was not. I don't know how to say it. The Clippers pretty much handled the game. The Suns were in it, but the Clippers pretty much handled that from the second half, for the start of the third quarter on. Paul George finally hit some big shots down the stretch after missing those 2 huge free throws in game 2 that would have probably, LA should be up 2-1 right now. But they're not. So yeah, Paul George finally hit some big shots. It's fun. Like we talked about this with Chris Denary. We thought it was going to be Brooklyn. We thought, at the beginning of the season, we thought the Lakers. What I'd like to see is you don't see these super teams, these power teams in the.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
It's fantastic. And that's why I say, I wonder, it's always when Kevin Durant.
And that's why I just talking about not having to have the superstar on the team.
Well, and if you have now, when Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden are all at full strength, they're going to be tough to beat. But it also shows that if you have one of those guys gets hurt, Brooklyn doesn't have the same depth, and that's why you saw they got beat by Milwaukee. You got to in the NBA, you have to have depth, and I think hopefully organizations are starting to realize that. I think you're going to start to see the playing field maybe level out a little bit. I kind of wonder, I don't think we've seen the death of the super team movement, but I think that there's a realization that you can still win big and compete for an NBA championship, and you don't have to have LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. You don't have to have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant. Obviously, it helps, but what happens when one of those guys gets injured? Do you have the quality depth to replace that? And a lot of times the answer is no, because of the contract situations. So that's why this has been, to me, so much more fun. And you can throw the Clippers in. I mean, yeah, they have Paul George, but Kawhi Leonard's hurt. They have some other pieces there. But, I mean, that to me, that's why it's been more fun than it was watching let Golden State dominate teams, year after year for that little bit of a stretch, or the Heat dominate teams year after year. So that's to me what has made this playoff run so much fun to watch.
To me, the NBA playoffs are the hardest playoffs of any professional sport, any sport, period. They come back. It's baseball. You get to rest every half inning.
Right.
Football, you play once a week. NBA, 7-game series sometimes. 7-game series. You could potentially play 3 7-game series back to back to back. Forget about the physical, the mental and the physical. And then you top that on top of this season, in which they crammed a lot into a smaller space. These guys are got to be tired.
Oh, yeah.
They've got to be tired. And then as these playoff games continue to be intense, it drains you more. But hey, man, they're professionals. They can rest in the off season, I guess. But it's easy for me to say. But I recognize they got to be tired. The NBA playoffs, it's hard. I mean, that's a hard deal.
And not only that, usually your rotations tighten up a little bit. You see, your superstars are getting a few more minutes in the regular season. So, they're being stretched to the limits. And that's why, I go back to how, I don't remember exactly how many it is, but LeBron going to 9 or 8 or 9 straight NBA finals. I know he didn't obviously win them all, and not in that Michael Jordan. I mean, he's in the conversation, but he's still not revered as the greatest player of all time because he didn't get as many finals victories. But for that to take that kind of toll on your body, he's playing, an extra month or 2 longer than a lot of these other players in the NBA. And you stack that on top 9 years, and he's just been durable. He hasn't been injured a lot in his career. And so that's why I give a lot of respect to him, even though, I'm happy he's not in the NBA finals or the Western Conference finals, because I want to see something different. But it should go as a credit to say this guy made it, 8, 9 straight years of getting to the finals. He's played an additional month to 2 months longer than a lot of these other guys. To have the stamina, to be in that kind of condition, to be able to do that on it's crazy.
I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the Chicago Cubs threw their first combined no-hitter in franchise history as 4 pitchers shut out the LA Dodgers 4-0 on Thursday night. I didn't watch that, but it's the 7th no-hitter in baseball this season, the most ever before July 1st, tied for the most in a season since 1900.
Wow. That's incredible.
Can I say sticky substance?
Well,
there you go.
Those videos are getting to be hilarious.
I saw one last night, and I'm like, what in the hell? I just caught it. I see some guy up on the baseball field dropping his pants.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm like, what in the world is going on up here? I'm like, oh my gosh. It is. Yeah, it's becoming funny.
It is. Yep.
Almost as funny as the fight on the Corn Ferry Tour.
And
I think
go ahead. I was going to say, I think that the MLB actually issued a statement the other day where, because managers are starting to ask pitchers ask the umpires to check for the sticky stuff. And I think that the MLB said if it's done in, I don't know how you would check for this, but if it's with bad intentions or malpractice or whatever, then there's going to be a suspension or a fine or something for those MLB managers, but I don't know how you would know whether it's bad intentioned or if you have a legit
What a bunch of lip service. Tim says St. John's leading Big East. St. John's is losing the Big East leading scorer, Julian Champagne, to the NBA, and 5 other players have moved on from that team.
Well, then there you go.
So they're going to be a transfer portal put together, which means St. John's is not exactly a destination right now. So I would not expect them to be all that formidable. But we'll talk to Alec Lasley again when we come back and get caught up on more Indiana basketball recruiting, because there's so much of it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking, man, there is so much to talk about.
Hey, so with Josh Hoover, he's going to come on at 10:20, and he needs to be out by 10:40.
Okay.
He said he's got a tee time at Dallas.
Oh, damn.
He is living the
Leave
life.
us to play golf.
You'll have to ask him about it.
Don't worry, I will.
That is incredible.
I'm asking what he shoots. Because let me tell you, if he's that concerned about a tee time,
he must be pretty good.
in Dallas, I guarantee you. Well, first of all, quarterbacks, pitchers, don't ever golf against a quarterback or a pitcher. Don't bet money against a quarterback or a pitcher if you're golfing. You're generally
I would bet money if it's an 8-year-old.
well. There's a lot of. Yeah, I'm talking about people that actually hit the ball straight. I'm included in the club with you. I'm in the club with you. But no, John Laskowski. He shot a freaking 77 on his 68th birthday 2 weeks ago.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
60. I played with Tommy Zeller, Fuzzy's brother, the other day. He's 65. He looked like he was swinging the club at half speed. And he wasn't killing it, but he wasn't short distance in it either. But it was right down the freaking middle.
Right.
It's only the second time I've been able to get out this year.
And
it's true. It's absolutely insanity. These guys that are, it just, and I go out there day after day and hack it up.
Yep.
What do you shoot, Alec?
I mean, do you want to know?
Yes. You better. You should be good. You seem like you should be a good golfer.
In high school, I was down to a 2.5 handicap after a couple knee surgeries. I'm about an 8 right now. Just haven't played a whole lot over the past few years, but a couple rounds this year, right at 77, 78 every single time.
Do you know why I knew he was a good golfer?
Was he a pitcher?
No.
Nope.
He's very even keeled, where I'm ADHD all over the place. Slow resting heartbeat. They're
All right,
wasn't-
back. We only got a few seconds.
And all of the right foods to go with. Plan a day on the links at Eagle Point in Bloomington, then stay for dinner at Sam's Clubhouse. Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. Dustin Schutte sitting in with me as he does frequently, and Alec Lasley back joining us as we've got plenty more recruiting information to talk about. Alec, we were talking about golf earlier. We moved some things around. Josh Hoover's going to join us, but we got to get him out at a certain time because he's got a tee time. I'm like, I guarantee you, he's. I was talking in the break. Don't bet in golf against a pitcher or a quarterback, or generally a lot of athletes, but those two specifically, you're generally going to lose. Alec, you used to be a great golfer. Now you're just an 8 handicap, apparently.
Well, that's what happens when you get older. Things slowly start to go down.
You reach those mid-20s, man, it's all
Yep.
downhill from there. It's just
sometime, and I'm going to have you give me lessons here, just so I just want to be a sub 90 golfer. Can you get me to that level?
Yeah.
I'm this close to being
get you there.
mediocre, boys. I'm this close to being mediocre. Let me tell you.
Well, you said exactly what it was. It was just maybe me being a little more even keel of a personality, and you being a little bit of more of a personality.
If you think about great coaches, all that, that's decision, or players too, decision making and all that. It does. It plays a huge part. Absolutely. Absolutely believe that. I'm looking on the forums on the Hoosier.com, and there's a good subject heading there talking about the NIL, which we talked about the other day, but how will that impact Indiana's recruiting? Well, right now, not at all. But how will the lack of Indiana not passing NIL legislation impact? I think it's going to come down to the schools, I think. I think that the NCAA is so far behind that they're just going to have to turn it over to the schools. And a school like Indiana, they already had agreements and companies set up, so they're ahead of the game. So, and they've already had their own graphics department. You see all the stuff that Indiana puts out. Are you kidding me? Hell, they're probably ahead of most schools in that department of promotion and all that. So I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They're already doing a lot of this stuff behind the scenes. A lot of this is even incorporated into recruiting pitches and recruiting visits. So regardless of if Indiana as a state is going to pass it anytime soon, Indiana still has probably things a lot more developed and a lot more in place than a lot of these other programs and universities around the country. So regardless of when that does happen for Indiana, they're not going to lose a beat just because they're already so ahead of the game when it comes to that. You just can't see it because obviously NIL isn't fully passed across the country yet.
And Jim Bloom made a great response on talking about how it would have not a lot of impact right now, and he used I don't know if I want to use, but I will. I'll use Anthony Leal as an example because he's from Bloomington. Said, if he wanted to do an ad for a car dealership, he would not automatically get to be identified as Anthony Leal, Indiana University guard, because Indiana University owns Indiana University's name. He owns his own name. And if he wasn't from Bloomington, it probably wouldn't carry much weight unless, if he's a 5-star maybe. But I don't know now. If you're a 5-star, you're going to be there 1 year and done. I don't know how much.
If you're even going to college.
8 months. I'm sorry, 8 months. Remember the Romeo quote. We're looking forward to the next 8 months. But that was an exact quote. The more I think about it, I'm like, well, those guys, they're not going to be here long. They know they're getting ready to go sign millions of dollars. Are they really going to quibble over that kind of crap? Or are they more concerned with getting to the NBA where the millions of dollars is and going to the right school that's going to get them to that, prepare them better for that? I know they're going to want their piece, and Indiana will have it in set. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. The more I think about it, I think it'll get resolved sooner than later. Now that the NCAA has to do it, they don't have a choice. But maybe I'm just being optimistic. Unusual for you, I know.
I mean, yeah, that is unusual. But no, I think you're right. I think you're going down the right path because most of these kids, if they are going to be one and dones, they're either not going to be going to college and they're just going to go to either the G League, overseas somewhere for a year, or honestly just sit out a year and get ready for the NBA draft. I think you're just going to see it a little bit more with those kind of borderline kids who know they have to go to college for at least 2 years, maybe. That may sway them one way or another. If, let's say, hypothetically, Justin Taylor, right, who we'll talk about here in a minute, but you're going down between IU and Syracuse. I haven't heard anything about Syracuse doing any sort of NIL kind of brand recognition. So let's just put that example out there. If he knows he's going to be in college for 2-3 years, both programs are right there. It's not like one is significantly over the top compared to the other one specific to this recruitment. Both have done a great job. But if Indiana already has that in place and you know that you're at least going to have that opportunity there and they're already pitching that to you on your recruiting visit, as a player, I would tend to probably side with them just because, one, they're already thinking about my best interest moving forward, and two, they already have something in place for me. So that's a scenario where I think you may see something sway a high school prospect, but in the whole grand scheme of things, I think it's not going to impact too many of them in a large scale aspect like that.
Okay, so let me throw out this example, and this may not be specific to Indiana, but do you think that there's a possibility that you could see something like maybe, let's say like a Valparaiso, a smaller school, where you don't maybe have the big time, 4-star, 5-star recruit very often? Do you think that would sway a certain player? Like we said, if you're going to be in college for 1 year and then you have aspirations of the NBA, I can go to Valpo and maybe get this. I can get this deal, whereas Indiana, I'm going to have to compete with a couple other guys. I mean, because college basketball is such a national game. We've seen guys go to, Davidson. We've seen guys go to Morehead State and go to the NBA. John Morant was at Murray State. So I'm just curious, maybe those places don't have that same kind of market, but I don't know enough about NIL really, and I should know more because I follow.
My take on that is Valpo, for every offer that they could offer, an Indiana can offer 10 to that one.
I'm saying you may not have to compete.
He's not gonna. Who's he gonna compete with? They've got all you want. You got 13 players. They'll have 13 deals set up. The pockets are way too deep.
I think the bigger thing at the end of the day, let's say you're a guy who's only going to be there 1 year in this scenario, 2 years max, right? And you know that going into college, at the end of the day, you're still trying to set yourself up to play in the NBA or to play professionally. Right. And going to a mid-major or going to a low major is not going to help you in the eyes of a scout or a GM. So again, the money that these players would make is going to be minuscule compared to the next 5-10 years, even if they just make it in the NBA for 2 years. So that's why I don't think it's going to be a huge deal breaker or deal maker for these kids. I just think you'll probably see it in the next 2 years. You'll see high school kids talk about in their commitment articles something about, oh, this program has X, Y, and Z set up for this specific scenario. And that may have been a deciding factor for me. But these kids aren't going to sacrifice millions of dollars or potentially millions of dollars to go make, I don't even know, honestly, how much they would make off of a couple local commercials for 1 year. So I don't think, again, that's why you're not going to see this make a huge impact other than maybe a few kids picking from a Syracuse to an Indiana, which at the end of the day, you're going to have kids do that no matter if NIL's in place or not.
Hoosier for Life says Happy was promoting NIL and what Kentucky can do for you all over Twitter yesterday. He says, of course, they're used to handing out bags of cash, to quote Blue Chips. Jennifer was on it. She said that he offered a tractor as well, and then a fully loaded Lexus too. But no, it's Kentucky's going to be Kentucky. Duke is going to be Duke. North Carolina is going to be North Carolina. Kansas is going to be Kansas. Indiana is going to become Indiana again. Those are going to be constants. There could now become Baylor. All right, Baylor's a great example. Baylor is down in Texas. You want to talk about money? All the money you could ever dream of down there. So other programs, I think, are going to be able now, along with the portal and all that, I think they're going to become more and more of these, not blue bloods, but blue blood type level programs. I mean, Baylor was pretty damn good last year.
So maybe in terms of some of the kids that they get, right? But at the end of the day,
yes, that's what I mean.
Okay, because at the end of the day, they're still going to have to go out there and win games to be considered
and win championships,
top of the crop. So, I think, was this long overdue? Absolutely, in my opinion. But is this going to shift the landscape of college athletics? No, I don't think so. I don't think they're ready for that yet. Until the day that if they ever do, which I don't think they will, but if they ever decide to salary college athletics and college players and pay them even more. Exactly. That's my point, that you're never going to see a huge change in where kids are going to school, because at the end of the day, you're always going to have the Carolina, Kansases, Dukes, Indianas, Kentuckys all fighting for the same players. And just because they pick a Kansas over a Duke, that's not going to shock anyone.
Let's talk about players. We haven't done that much of that yet. Other than there's a lot of visits that you talked about earlier. Man, every day somebody new coming in here, and it's top level talent. What's Indiana looking like right now?
Yeah, obviously the big decision. Yeah, the big decision upcoming for Justin Taylor. That one seems to have a little bit more Syracuse buzz at the moment than Indiana. He took 3 officials. That was it. Indiana was his last one. His other 2 were North Carolina and Syracuse. I think 2 things are going to play into it. Style of play, which Indiana did a phenomenal job re-pitching that to him after the change in coaches. That's what made Indiana such an appealing destination in this specific scenario, especially switching from the Archie Miller style of play. But I think you look at Buddy Boeheim and the season that he had last year, same type of stature, same type of skill set that Boeheim would have with Justin Taylor. And that's exactly what he would be able to play after Buddy Boeheim leaves after this year. I don't know if you need to show him any more film than the 27 games that Syracuse played this season to show him exactly what type of career he could have at Syracuse and what type of career that could catapult him to having in the NBA. So that was something very specific. And then I think you look at just the coaching staff. Obviously, both North Carolina and IU had a coaching change over the past few months. Syracuse didn't. Not to say that specifically helped Syracuse, but I think just keeping the same staff in place and keeping those relationships in place was definitely something that went a long way with Justin Taylor. I obviously talked to him a couple days ago, when he announced his decision was, and that the relationships not only with the staff but with the players was a big thing, and that's what really went into his decision. And I think keeping the same staff in place, same head coach, definitely put Syracuse up there, and could ultimately be, one of the deciding factors for him.
Quickly, who's a name that Indiana fans might want to get to learn about?
I definitely think so. We've talked about it before, but Jalen Hood-Schifino, he's on his official visit to Indiana beginning next week. Top 30 guard here in the country, borderline 5-star combo guard. He was originally committed to Pitt a year ago, decommitted, ended up not going on his Pitt official visit because they ended up getting another guard. I think that's one name. Indiana's done a phenomenal job since Mike Woodson took over the job of really prioritizing him. I think if that official visit goes really well, which obviously all the visits seem to be going really well with Coach Woodson, I think that's a name that could really skyrocket for Indiana here going into the fall.
The Charlie Hughes is this weekend, correct?
Yep.
We'll be covering that completely. Go to thehoosier.com for complete coverage of that. Alec, thank you very much, brother. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
You bet. We'll be back right after this with Josh Hoover, Indiana's latest football commitment from Texas. Right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're looking
bring Mr. Golfer on. Where are you playing, man?
We're going to play at Tennyson Park in Dallas.
First of all, how you doing, Josh? Nice to meet you, man. Jim Coyle. Look forward to seeing you when you get to Bloomington.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
What are you? 8 handicap?
You
had to think about it. He had to think about it. Oh my God, he's close to it probably.
I'd say probably a 6 or 7.
Oh my God. Man, you guys kill me. My handicap is 14, the exact number of clubs in my bag. That is the exact. Dustin Schutte with Saturday Tradition with us as well.
Hey, Josh.
Man, I was watching your highlight film, man, and I couldn't get
Save
over
the good
it.
conversation for the live.
I don't want to brag on him on air.
Okay.
I don't want to sound like a homer, but man, dude, that was just some great stuff. You guys just run like a pro style offense. It looked like.
Yeah, we definitely sling it around a little bit. So we got some guys who can stretch the field vertically, so that helps too. So.
What level is it? Your high school down there?
6A, the highest classification.
Wow.
Man, holy smokes! How far did you guys get in the playoffs last year?
We lost in 4th round to Cedar Hill in overtime.
How many rounds are there?
You got the 6th round is like the state championship.
Damn, so that's like regional championship.
Yeah, we lost in the quarterfinals, and Cedar Hill ended up going to state. So,
how's it looking this year?
We're looking a lot better, so I'm excited.
Ooh.
Do you play against Quinn Ewers?
Yes, we played them. We played those guys week 2.
Okay, cool.
So
how do you know who they are, John?
He's the top quarterback in the class, I think, right, Dustin?
Oh, I thought you meant it was a high school.
No. The player, Quinn Ewers.
Hey, we're going to see those two go at each other in at Texas and in the Big Ten.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, where's he going?
Ohio State.
Do you know?
Oh,
come on, Jimmy.
I don't keep up with Ohio State crap. You forget all that I have to do. I don't have just one job here. I got 2, and then I got to hack the ball around. I bought a brand new driver, Josh, 2 days ago. The Callaway Epic Max.
Oh yeah.
I hit that thing just like if I took a stick and tied a brick to the bottom of it. No different than I'm like, this is.
Hey, I got to interrupt. We're coming back in. Sorry, y'all.
Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back on this Friday. And, man, you talk about a little bonus. How about Josh Hoover from, is it Heath, Texas?
Yes, sir, Heath.
Is that just outside of Dallas, I'm assuming?
It is. It's 20 miles east of Dallas.
East. I got a good buddy of mine. I was a team roper for number 6 team roper. A buddy of mine who lives in Maybank. Is that just south of you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit more out there, but yeah, I know where that's at.
Yep, been out there, but absolutely. Well, thanks a lot, first of all, for joining us, man. We appreciate you. Just signed with Indiana. I saw the Dallas Morning News had a big thing on you, and your numbers are outstanding. Watched the highlight video, and I'm like, just shaking my head at the all the positives and your numbers. 3,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, and you did this at the highest level of Texas football in 6A. That is incredible. And man, it's Texas football is just one of those things that everybody knows about from Friday Night Lights and all that stuff. But Ohio and Texas and Florida, probably the 3, California, maybe the 4 biggest states that there are that produces football players.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
How coming along you're Indiana, how does Indiana become even a thought for a kid that's been so successful as you have been in down in Texas?
Yeah, I mean, those guys really the only school that recruited me. That was a Power 5 school, and it really came to SMU and Memphis and Indiana, and Arkansas recruited me for a while, but they ended up not taking a 22 quarterback. So, yeah, those guys, from the jump, they kind of believed in me, and Coach Sheridan just said, he had a gut feeling, and a lot of guys just said they wanted to see me throw in person because I dropped the ball a little bit, and that's not necessarily that's just my natural throwing motion. It's not like I've been trained to do that. It's just how I naturally throw, and I think those guys kind of liked it, and I'm just excited to have the opportunity to play at Indiana. I really feel blessed.
Well, I saw Nick Sheridan made a statement that when he was watching the highlights, he was like, "What am I missing? Why is this kid not?" Well, that was the exact thought I had. I'm like, what the hell am I missing here? This dude is just dropping dimes, man. And so I think this is going to be a big loss for people like Arkansas and whomever else. But I love it. I love those stories. Does that give you motivation? I mean, does that motivate you more? Not that you need more because your talent looks to be there, but does that not motivate you, put a little more of a chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I feel like there's probably a little chip on my shoulder, just that, haven't always been the highest recruit, and not everybody's always been calling me and all that stuff. So I really feel blessed, like I said, to play for Indiana, and I feel like the Indiana is the exact same kind of place. Everybody kind of has that chip that the Big Ten championship is what they're going for, and Coach Allen's kind of the same way. I feel like I fit that mold.
And Josh, how important is this past season, maybe the past 2 seasons, we've heard a lot about LEO, love each other, that culture that Tom Allen has built with his staff and with the players there. And they truly seem to have a great chemistry, and they've set the bar. You look at Indiana, the history, it's not always the greatest, but they've got a high standard now. They're wanting to win Big Ten championships. They're wanting to compete at the highest level. How impressed with you, or what was the impression you got from Indiana with that culture that Tom Allen's built in just the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, obviously it's noticeable. It's different. When people come in and do things and change things, everyone takes notice of it. And I feel like that's very similar in my own story. My freshman year, we had a different head coach, and went 3-7, and a new coach came in, and he kind of just, pressed on us. Our phrase is "win the day," and we all bought into that and bought into just winning every single day and loving each other, similar to what Coach Allen says. And I think that's really important because guys start believing in the coach, and then they start believing in each other, and it's a chain effect, and it's just a contagious mentality, and that's exactly what you need. That's what I was looking for in college too.
Well, I'm in the media, and I can tell you it's real. I don't know that I'd want to be around Tom Allen 5 days a week, because I'd probably be ending up running sprints all the time. And he just has that infectious, natural, highly caffeinated body. It's just, man, but it is all real and sincere, and it comes across that way. And I know you know that. Yeah. Your visit, how much did just the visit, did the visit sell you, period? I mean, what sold you? When you just like, bam, that's it.
Yeah, I think on my visit, I really liked the entire city of Bloomington, and and the Coach Allen and Coach Sheridan. We went to dinner with Coach Sheridan and his family, and those people, they're great people, and I've liked Coach Sheridan since we started talking. And then Coach Allen, obviously, I talked to him a few times before my visit, and it was just awesome. And I think when you get in person with those guys, it really just makes it even better. And Coach Allen, we really connected. Our families did as well, and that's just the kind of guy I was looking for, and I think that's what kind of solidified it.
Obviously, we're coming to a really unique 15-month period with the NCAA and no official visits, no even unofficial visits, and not allowed to see live evaluations and just so many things. How difficult or how strange was that recruiting process for that 15-month window for you? Not being able to make visits, not having live evaluations and things of that nature. How different was that for you?
Yeah, it was something that I don't think anybody expected. We all thought it was going to be a normal high school experience, and coaches were going to come see us in the spring and watch our games in the fall, and it was just going to be another year. We quickly found out, that's not what it was, and honestly, I'm thankful for it. I'm grateful that it happened, because I don't know if I'd have the chance to play at Indiana, just because they don't always recruit Texas, and it was just kind of a weird circumstance, and it actually happened. And to me, I feel like that was just a God thing that we were able to find each other, and I really do feel blessed to play for Indiana. I mean, I'm super excited. So,
Well, I think they're going to be excited to have you as well. And since you're down in Texas and Indiana was probably nowhere on your radar a year ago, did you see have you seen any Indiana games prior to your recruitment?
Yes. I've watched a few games. I watched the Ohio State game. I've watched a lot of games since they've been recruiting me, but before that, I've just sporadically, the Big Ten network, it's not as big here in Texas just because there's so many schools down here, but you do see some of the primetime games, and I've watched a few of their games. So, yeah.
What from that did you draw? Like the Ohio State obviously was a tremendous matchup that Indiana could have won that game. Right. But what did you get from that? Did that kind of something just in the back of your mind at all?
I think Coach Allen, his just the way he coaches and the way he attacks life, it's noticeable. Like I said, and you just notice that's different. It's a different way that a lot of guys, aren't like that. And I think people do notice that, and that's something I did notice. And at first I thought I didn't really know much about him. I thought he was like a big yeller and a screamer and dog. That's how I was like, man, this guy's, he's fired up. And then I kind of figured out what it's all about, and that kind of helped me out. But yeah, I watched a lot of games, and I'll be honest, when they first started recruiting me, I had like zero interest in coming to Indiana. Like I did not want to come here or to Indiana, and it was just because I didn't really know much about it. And at the time, Coach Sheridan said he was going to offer me, but I had to come throw for him in the summer because he's never taken a quarterback he's never seen, and so that kind of I was probably being a little prideful. And I remember he said, I'll never forget. He said, "Go talk to your dad and let me know if that's something you want to do." And so I went and talked to my dad. I was like, "Dad, I don't. This guy wants me to come throw, and why would I go 13 hours to Indiana and all this stuff? Dad, I don't want to do it." And he just told me, he's like, "Dude, you sound so stupid right now." He said, "There's no reason why you wouldn't go do that." And so that was real early on. And so we started talking more and more. And I was like, wow, I really like these guys. And, they ended up feeling the same way. And I just feel blessed I was able to end up there.
Aren't parents funny?
They are.
We've talked about the cultural fit, you kind of having that blue collar mentality, that chip on your shoulder fitting into Indiana. But a little bit from the offensive standpoint, what do you see from Indiana schematically? How do you think you fit into that offense? And what do you think you're going to bring to Indiana when you get to Bloomington?
Yeah, I think what they do offensively is very similar to some of the things we do. And so that's obviously encouraging. And I like what they do offensively. And, they run the ball and they throw it, and pretty balanced. And they do both of them really well, which is really important in the Big Ten and in any conference in football. So.
Of course, their coaching staff is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's important. And then hopefully, when I get to Bloomington, I just want to be a great teammate and come in and be the hardest worker and be their first one in, last one to leave, like I've been my entire life. And I just want to be a great teammate, like I said, and just get to work. There's a lot of great players, and competition makes everybody better. So I'm excited about that factor, and just learning from everybody.
And they've got the coaching staff has been elevated to an unbelievable level. You've got Delon McCullough that comes in from a Super Bowl winning and Super Bowl appearing program immediately after that. And of course, Norm Charlton on the defensive side. Indiana's defense has been extraordinary since Tom Allen got here. He turned the defense around is what he did. He started out as the DC here, but they've really it's Indiana football is at a level that it has never been. I'll tell you right now, and it is potentially about to be the next 3 to 4 years from what we're looking at, and you're arriving at the doorstep of what could be the greatest 3 or 4 years in Indiana football history. To be honest with you,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really cool how everything's kind of come together, and there's a lot of great players that are really interested in Indiana right now, and guys that are already committed. So I'm excited about that group, and excited about the coaching staff and Coach Allen and what's to come. I think it's going to be special, and it's already special. What they're doing right now, and I think they're going to have a great year this fall. So.
And Josh, you're obviously in a talent-filled state with Texas. I say all the time, you might be ranked number 100 in the state of Texas, but you might be one of the top 150, 200 players in the country. Now that you're committed to Indiana, is your cell phone buzzing? Are you reaching out to some of your buddies or guys across the state and saying, "Hey, let's won't you come to Indiana and let's do something special?" Or how do you take on that role, or do you just let that be done by the coaching staff?
No, I've been talking to some guys, so not necessarily Texas. There's a couple guys in Texas, but there's some other guys that they're really interested in. So I've been talking to them, kind of forming that relationship, and actually feel really good about it. So. I think you could probably be seeing some guys commit here pretty soon.
And I know growing up in Texas, of course, one of the just biggest schools that there are in the country. But Texas A&M and football is so big down there. But you could be, in a couple of years, we're talking about trying to win a Big Ten championship against Ohio State or against Wisconsin, rather, to get there. Has that been you sat around and thought about, man, would that be cool, playing Ohio State, playing at Penn State, playing Michigan, playing Wisconsin for a Big Ten championship? I know it's so different from what you grew up with the Texas football, but it's historical stuff there.
Yeah, it's definitely – see, when you grow up in Texas and there's so many schools, SEC, Big 12, and so you kind of just forget about the Big Ten sometimes, and you forget about how special and how big football is up there. It's really a big deal. I mean, I didn't realize how many Hoosier fans there were until I posted some on Twitter. I mean, it's crazy. So football is definitely a big deal, and I'm really excited about that. And it's definitely going to be cool to, play against all this great competition. And, when you really start to think about it, the Big Ten, could easily be the best conference in the country. So, there's a lot of great teams come out of there, the SEC. So, it's definitely big time football, and that's something I'm really excited about. And, they take it definitely really serious up there.
Well, I'm sure Coach Woody showed you this, but something else I'm sure that will excite you. They have the number 4 ranked college golf course in the country. Just went into a course. Josh has would you say 6 handicap?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful course, and you'll get to play it, and you'll love it. But you'll definitely enjoy that. And is that something that you would out of season play more? But is that something that you'll do a lot of when you're away at school, just for whatever reason, just to get your mind clear?
Yeah, I like to play golf. Just to kind of get away from stuff. And it's been kind of a crazy year. And I started playing golf last year this time.
Whoa, stop! You just started playing last year?
Yes, sir.
And you're a 6 handicap?
Yes, sir.
John, the producer, can you cut him off, please? No, I'm kidding. Oh my God. You just ruined my day. Oh, no, I'm kidding, but I'm just teasing. That is
the story on that.
That tells me a lot.
The story on that is we have a putting green. And so we moved into this house probably 2 years ago. And there's a putting green that's been here for a long time in the backyard. Someone had built it before us. And so in quarantine, all I did, was work out, play football, and then I go out there and putt and chip. And I never played a round of golf. I just putt and chip for 3 months, and I never played a round of golf. In my first round of golf, I shot 82 because I could putt and chip, So,
oh man, I've been trying to get people to give me lessons on this show before, so I might have to come down to Texas sometime to get some instruction on my chipping and putting. If you've developed that kind of game in just a year, I mean, I feel like I've wasted my lifetime trying to perfect this game, and I'm still nowhere near a 6 handicap.
I've never walked off the set before. That was it. I'm like,
yeah, definitely.
What?
Definitely a hard game, and it definitely teaches you, to be present in the moment. You can't be thinking about the next hole or what happened last hole, and so I think it does correlate between football and. But yeah, it's a fun game. It'll teach you a lot.
Well,
for those that don't play, what he did is nearly unheard of. And for those of you that do play, I understand your sickness feeling right now. I'm sharing that with you.
Well, I would say it probably does translate pretty well, and that that's a really positive thing. I think Indiana fans want to hear. If you're a really good golfer, you got to have a clear mind. You have to be a good decision maker, and I'm sure that's you learned a lot of that from playing quarterback in Texas.
Yeah, you can't overthink it. You just got to rip it sometimes. So,
I said it earlier. Don't bet against a pitcher or a quarterback if you're playing golf. Don't do it. And I was talking about ones that had been playing for 10 years, not ones that started playing last month. But, man, Josh, I know you got to get out here. You have a tee time, so we want to get you off there. Thank you so much, man. Boy, I wish I could play golf with you now more than anything. I need some lessons from you. But, brother, I'm looking forward to you getting up to Bloomington. When will you arrive in Bloomington?
I'll be there next January.
Cool. Mid-semester. Perfect. Well, brother, have a great rest of your season. Good luck. We'll check in with you and follow along on the season. Good luck there, and good luck. And maybe you can do something about that golf game. I know it sounds like it's pretty rough right now.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Good to see you guys.
Thank you, brother. Josh Hoover joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. We got to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're
All right, thanks, guys.
That's the craziest freaking story. Oh my God, I'm gonna be talking about that all damn day. When did you start?
Last year this time.
An 82. I've never shot an 82. Never.
So, I play with a 3-iron only. So.
Go to your tea time. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you so much. Look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Josh. That is,
man, what a kick-ass interview.
That was awesome.
Oh, it was awesome. Fun.
Oh, okay. So
that tells, but being serious.
Breaking news.
Oh, what we got?
Bill Moose is out as Nebraska's athletic director.
Oh, wow.
I need to send. Okay, cool. His name's Bill Moose.
Bill Moose, yep.
The moose is loose in Nebraska. Moose. You think that's a bigger story than Josh Hoover shooting an 82 in his first damn round of golf?
No, I don't.
Ever?
That's crazy.
I've never heard of that. But it still surprises me. I don't care. Yeah, even a great athlete, the first time? Come on, man. That's nuts. Wow. The moose is loose.
The moose is loose.
The moose has been turned loose. Well, that's kind of, football's not going their way, but so they cut the AD and not Scott Frost. But that tells me something. Scott Frost better get real busy this year.
Oh, yeah, because now he's going to have a boss that didn't hire him.
And he has not succeeded yet.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, they haven't really even bumped up, have they?
No,
they haven't gone to a bowl. Wait, what are you?
No, I don't mean by bowl game. I mean they haven't really bumped up. They've stayed mediocre.
Yeah,
at best.
4-8, 5-7, 3-5.
Well, it's the first step. I mean, it's honestly, I feel like it's a foreshadowing. I feel like if this is it for Scott Frost, now that there's a new AD, if he doesn't do well this year.
The reason he brought in, you got to fire the AD because you got to let the AD hire his own football coach. So the writing on the wall is Scott Frost's ass is about to be gone.
All right, here we go.
Sam's Clubhouse, Sam's Restaurants, professionals in the art of food and drink. This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back. Happy Friday. Still trying to get over Josh Hoover shooting an 82 on his first round of golf in his life. Just blows my mind. But we got a little bit of breaking news, Dustin. Go ahead and let's share that in football, in the Big Ten football news.
Yeah, out in the Big Ten West, Nebraska athletic director Bill Moose is reportedly out. Could be coming as soon as today. I haven't been able to research or gotten any information as to why or what the situation is, but it sounds like Nebraska is going to have a changing at the guard. at the AD, and he has been there, I think, since 2017 or 18. I'm not quite sure, but this is the guy that hired Scott Frost to coach the football team. This is the guy that hired Fred Hoiberg to coach the basketball team. So we're not really sure what's going on there yet. I mean, I'm sure some of those Nebraska beat writers probably have a lot more information than I do, but that's a big time deal, because he was, even though things haven't worked out quite that way on the football field just yet, maybe that's going to come. He made some bold hires. He did some big things. He spoke up regarding the Big Ten playing football. So just a crazy situation with only 2 months until the football season gets here.
Yeah, and that tells me that Scott Frost's days are numbered, and unless he has a big turnaround, and by big turnaround I mean, and let me say this, there's no way that other schools are not looking directly at Indiana University. First of all, Indiana went to Nebraska and beat Scott Frost's ass after he made some disparaging comments about Indiana. But Indiana has been on a steady incline. Nebraska has been flatlined, if not worse. Scott Frost has not delivered. I don't follow Nebraska football that close, so I don't know what they're looking like this year. You'd know more to that, but I can't imagine after 3-7 last year,
3-5.
I can't imagine off of a 3-5 season that you're planning on a 9-3 season this year.
Well,
and I think that's what it's going to take to save him.
I don't think it's going to be quite that drastic. And the reason being is they return a lot of their defensive starters. I mean, pretty much their entire starting defense, which was pretty good last season. You have Adrian Martinez returning. You were able to get Marquise Stepp out of USC at the running back spot. You were really deep at the running back. Their offensive line looked really good in the spring game. They have some weapons with Omar Manning and Samurai Toure at wide receiver. So they have some opportunity for improvement. My concern is with Nebraska is you look at that schedule. They play a Buffalo team that was pretty good in the MAC last season. They play Oklahoma in non-conference. You have Ohio State and Michigan in crossover games, and then you still have to play Wisconsin, Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota. Illinois is going to be better. So I think Scott Frost is actually safe if he just gets to 6 wins and bowl eligibility, because that schedule's so tough. But you're also correct in the sense that when you have a new athletic director, a lot of times they want to hire their guy. They want to hire that football coach.
Well, that's why I think that he's on the hook.
It's a little bit more. You would like to see them get 8 wins this season, and that probably would secure his job, but you never know. I mean, you go back to Minnesota before the 2017 season. Tracy Claeys was hired in 2016. Minnesota brings in a new AD. Obviously, they had some outside issues with some allegations and things of that nature. But Tracy Claeys was gone after 1 season. Then they bring in PJ Fleck. So, and that was a big part because Mark Coyle he had just taken over at Minnesota. So
no relation.
You never know what's going to happen. But that's kind
he's got to get to a bowl game.
He's got
unquestionable.
Yeah.
If he does not reach a bowl game, he is absolutely gone.
I would agree with that.
And that would be, for Nebraska fans, probably really disheartening because he's a Nebraska guy.
Yeah.
He was so successful at Central Florida, but that then makes you wonder, well, how, because they were knocked on because they didn't have the schedule. Well, how much did that play into it?
Well, and my knock, I don't know if this is really a knock against Scott Frost, because you're always trying to go from one place to the other and be successful. I think maybe he would have been better served to stay a little bit longer at UCF and maybe take some lumps. And here's why. You look back at his coaching history. I mean, this is as a graduate assistant. This is as a position coach, as an offensive coordinator. He had 1 season where his team didn't make the postseason or were in the FCS playoffs. So he goes to UCF to be a first-time head coach. He takes a team that was 0-12 to 6-7, gets to a bowl game, and then the next season they're undefeated. They beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Why wouldn't he think he could go to Nebraska and just immediately turn that into a contender? So I think he's had to learn on the job a little bit. Like, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it might have been. So, I think he was just a young coach who he didn't really experience many losing seasons. He didn't have that experience. And I think, you look at some of the most successful coaches. I mean, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, they've all taken their lumps. The only exception really is Urban Meyer. So that's why I think if he would have been at UCF a few more years and maybe had, maybe a losing season or maybe some seasons where they were 7-5 or 8-4, I think it would have better prepared him for this job, because not only is it a Division I job in the Big Ten, it's freaking Nebraska. I mean, that's like taking over the job at Indiana basketball or Kentucky basketball. I mean, it is a big time deal in that state. And there's going to be expectations. There's going to be television cameras. There's going to be reporters in your face every single day. Obviously, he knew that. So, because having played there, but it does set a crazy. There's now a lot more eyeballs looking on you in the 2021 season because, like you said, and I agree, if he's not in a bowl game this year, it's going to be tough to retain him, I think.
Scott Frost needs a little LEO in his life. He seems a little high-strung.
Yep, I think that's the job, though. I don't think.
Well, there's no doubt that it is, but I think that it is becoming more of back in the day when I played, before me. That's how it was.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't water. That was back when. Water, well, you get water when I'm thirsty. That's what the coaches would say. You're going to run till I get tired. Well, this is a different day, and it's a different type of – and everybody has their own way of doing it. Everyone's not going to be like Tom Allen. Right. Tom Allen is as a matter of fact, Tom Allen is different than 99% of the coaches out there probably. But there's also – you got to find a blend. And, he had – McCaffrey leave. I don't know. Sometimes I think you could be a little too high strung and that carries over to the players. You got to have a comfortability. Tom Allen is high strung in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gave himself a freaking lash across his face last year out of a joy. I meant to tell Josh, but out of a joyous embrace, he cut the heck out of his face. But this is because it's just that. Yeah. Todd Leary talks about it. Positive touches. It's contagious. And he just seems like a guy that's just always intense and in this. And I don't know.
I think that the job has kind of done that to him. Because you go back to UCF, and I don't remember.
Nebraska's a tough place.
and I don't remember him being like that. And I remember reading multiple stories and Scott Frost even saying, he can go into basically a gas station, and in the middle of Orlando, and nobody's going to know who he is. He goes in with a ball cap, and he kind of liked that. He kind of liked having that, anonymity. I can't say that word.
An anonymity.
Exactly. He kind of liked not having that kind of pressure. You're the head coach at UCF, but there's a lot going on in Orlando. You can go out in public. You can go to a restaurant and not always be recognized. I mean, you can't hardly leave your house in Nebraska, and you're going to be swarmed by media if you're the head football coach. So
there's nothing but Nebraska football in Nebraska.
It's such a different change. I think he feels the pressure of having to win. Not only that, but he's an alum. He wants to win. He wants to restore this program. So I don't think it's necessarily his personality. I think it's just the pressure of that job. And if he's able to win this season, if he's able to get to a bowl game, I think you might see him start to relax a little bit more. You never know, though. I mean, that program has high expectations. It wants to be – we make the comparison all the time. I'm sick of it. But it wants to be Indiana basketball. It wants – national championship is the criteria, and they want to get back to that level. And they have the ability to do that. And I've said it 18 times. I think it's just that kind of pressure that has not broken him, but I think that that's what makes him such a narrow focused and such a, I got to win now. I got to win now kind of guy.
And if that's the case, though, I don't know how you turn that around, because I think it's having the right people in place. And because of what you said that he should have stayed at Central Florida, he's not the right guy at the right time. Maybe later he'll be the right guy. I just don't know that he's the right guy now. Mike Woodson is the right guy right now. Tom Allen was the right guy right now. Well, it was different, and it was so different. I completely disagreed with it at the time.
Right.
I thought it was the absolute craziest thing. They could have hired you, and it would not have been crazier to me, or me. I did, and so did a lot of other people, with good reason. Who the hell hires a Big Ten coach that's never had any head coaching experience? Nobody. But they, in the end, didn't care that much about football, and they got to pay him $1.8 million. So that was an easy decision.
And again, we talked about it kept the spot after all the negativity that final year under Kevin Wilson. They wanted to I will never think this differently. The goal to me from Fred Glass was we want to lay low for a little bit, and if we win,
get some positive stuff out there.
If we win some games, that's just gravy. And it turned into now Indiana's heading into this season as one of the top 2 competitors to Ohio State in the Big Ten, and could potentially play in a Big Ten championship game.
Indiana will enter the season ranked.
Yes.
That has not happened probably. I'll have to go back to the 60s to see if they were preseason ranked, but I can't imagine ever before the 60s being ranked preseason. And if they went at Iowa, I don't know how they're not a top 10 team when they face Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree. I think
so, but yeah, that's always going to be one of the greatest amazing things to me, what Tom Allen has done. And I wonder how much pressure is that putting on other schools now that have won. Look at Michigan, a program that is used to winning. They bring back the prodigal son, the absolute, the grand slam home run hire that turns out to be a strikeout. Well, as of right now, a strikeout.
I wouldn't say strikeout.
Well, if your job is in question, to me, that's a strikeout. And his job is in question.
His job's been in question for the last 3 years. But the thing that's different to me about Michigan is they've hit 10 wins 3 years under Jim Harbaugh. They've been to a bowl game all but one season. So yes, they've been blown out by Ohio State. They haven't been to the level they need to be at, but it wasn't like the Brady Hoke hire. It wasn't like the Rich Rod hire.
Absolutely.
So it's like a base on balls or something like.
It's a strikeout in regards to not. He is the ultimate hire. Yeah. There is no one in the history of Michigan football that they would have said, this is the guy. He was a quarterback. He was a quarterback for Bo Schembechler. He's been in the NFL.
Right.
There is no one that would have been, thought to be more perfect for that job. And that's what I mean by it being, he's done nothing to raise them up above any place that they already had been, good, but not great.
Not championship.
Never cannot beat Ohio State.
Right.
So I didn't. Did he have a losing record against Michigan State, or does he have a losing record against Michigan State?
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember off the top of my head. I feel like he's 3-3. I think he's 500 against Michigan State. And
I'll be quite honest with you. He absolutely should be 500 against Indiana. No question.
Yeah.
And so had that happened, that would have made it. But anyway, that's why I think it's just, but they're still getting the players. So what's the problem? They're still getting players. You still see these 5. I'm like going, dude, they're still getting recruits. They still got a top 20 class.
That's the thing that's crazy to me. And I know we're running out of time, but you look, Michigan gets the recruits. They always have a top 20 class. Sometimes they're in the top 10, and then they get drafted in the NFL. They get, they're usually right up there with Ohio State in Ohio State produces the most NFL talent, and then Michigan is number 2. So there's a disconnect when they're at Michigan. They can't get over that hump. They can't win a Big Ten title. They can't beat Ohio State. That's where the problem is.
Quickly, before we get out here, I always ask about Michael Penix, and Tim puts up there Michael Penix impressing coaches at flight school camp. So we did not talk about that. We'll talk about that next week. But Michael Penix, man, that's key to Indiana.
Yep.
If Indiana's going to upset Ohio State, it's going to be with Michael Penix. And if he can stay healthy, it could be the greatest football season in Indiana history. And I know that going to a Rose Bowl, they don't have to go to a Rose Bowl to me for this season to eclipse that season because of how it was set up then. Because to get places now is much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The hurdles you have to go over, much more difficult. So they can have the greatest season in the program's history without going to a Rose Bowl, but I think that that's a possibility. Man, what an incredible week, an incredible day it has been. Cannot thank you guys enough. It has been so much fun. Cannot thank Josh Hoover enough, Alec Lasley enough. Did we have anybody else on besides Dustin, of course, that I forgot? Because it's been so much fun today. Thanks for Dustin. It is a blast. I hope we can, keep you on as much as possible. It's just always fun. Hey, good luck with that 6 handicap you got there.
I'm headed out to the driving range right after this show to try.
I'm gonna go break my clubs after that chat with Josh Hoover. I'm done. I'm over. I'm out. They're going in the lake. Man, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Have fun. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Monday to do it all again. For myself, Dustin Schutte, and John, producer, I will see you on the radio.